What up, family? It's your boy Amaru. If like me, that was a new intro you didn't expect, you also have a host you didn't expect. What's going on? I had to be here representing Hufflepuff, of course, but we are here for an exhibition, another Wizarding World exposition. You might remember that me and Jay did one of the first ones with Chris as well, who's one of our judges. But now we're going on another exhibition, and it's going to be between two lovely gentlemen that I know pretty well, fairly well. They are very, very well versed in the Harry Potters, in the Newt Scamander. Who's actually versed in Newt Scamander? I don't know. If you are, all power to you. Really, all power to you. But got some judges in the back, also well versed in the Wizarding worlds. So let's just get into it. First, coming in with a competitive record of 5-2. When he hops in, first thing you should do, tell me your house. And if it's not Hufflepuff, tell me why you're wrong. 1, Mr. Chad, Danger, Webb. Chad, what's going on?
I'd probably go with Gryffindor because it's generic. And
as I said, he was wrong. So we're just going to, no. I'm just,
and because I've been indoctrinated. So you know how it is.
How you doing, fam? How you feeling about these questions you got coming up?
I'm doing really, really great. These are actually really interesting. They kind of like force you to like think outside the box. When you see them, you will know, audience, that it's they're a little different. It's not necessarily best this, worst that. So it's a little different. And I'm looking forward to facing Joe again. It's been a while. He kind of dominated me the last time I faced him. But this is all Wizarding World, so it's going to be interesting. We're both big fans of the subject, I look forward to seeing how this plays out.
I'm looking forward to myself. So speaking of Joe, I'm going to drop you in the back. Bring the man in himself with a competitive record, also 5-2 with 1 KO. It's one Mr. Joe Hot Fuzz Farrelly. What's going on, sir?
Oh, it's good to see you, Rue. It's always good to see you. I also put myself, Pottermore also put me in Gryffindor, but I have several reasons. One, I kind of see a lot of myself in Neville, especially the way things happened for me when I was growing up. Secondly, I couldn't put myself in Hufflepuff because around 2004, so I should say, maybe someone put in for a particular role that went to a particular man that ended up playing Batman. And look, let's be honest here. I was one of probably 100 kids that put their name in and never heard back. But when I tell that story in a bar, it was down to me and Patterson, and I could have been Batman. That's how it works.
Hey, look, it's always going to be between you and the Battinson, and don't tell anybody any other thing ever. But all right, how you feel about these questions going up against Chad in this little fun match we got going on for you?
Look, I know Chad knows his Wizarding World. I've hosted numerous geek matches in other divisions and watched everything going on this year in multiplex fan, TMG, Onslaught, everywhere. And I know he knows his stuff. As it's an exhibition, I try something a little bit different. I've come in with this with no prep. Just I know the answers. I know the Wizarding World. It's not like some other ones where you're like, oh, I haven't seen that one, or that. This is. I say no prep. My wife's currently going through the films for the first time, and we're up to Deathly Hallows Part 1. So I'm pretty refreshed. And I watched Secrets of Dumbledore again yesterday for study purposes.
Hey, you're not the only person who has in the household who's going through them for the first time. What's up, Bill? Hope you're enjoying yourself on that one. But you know what? Let's bring your competitor in. Let's go through these rules, which these videos are not going to be true. So listen to me, not what's in front of there, but this one is going to be a best of 3 rounds. And the first player to 2 points gets the win here. Each round is going to be worth 1 point. And then after 3 rounds, whoever wins. We'll see if we get to that 3rd round or if we're going to have a KO or not, but you never know. The first and 3rd round are going to be your standard rounds where the first stage of the question is 60-second opening. The second stage is a 2-minute expansion or rebuttal. The third is going to be a 4-minute open debate. And then the fourth and final stage is going to be a 60-second closing. After that, then the 3 judges will be brought on screen, during which they'll give their judgment on who won that round. Being an exhibition, we also have ourselves a little speed round in the middle there. It is not sudden death. It's just a speed round. And the timing is going to be a little different. So instead of the standard 4 stages, it's just 3, 60-second opening, 90-second response, and then a 45-second close. So with that, we are going to get right into it. Gentlemen, are you ready for this?
Yes.
All right. So we're going to go straight into it with question number 1. Now, if you have followed the Wizarding world, there has been one director who has gone to do many of films in a row. And to me, I don't think that one David Yates should have continued after Deathly Hallows at all. The Gray Palette just continues. I need something different. I need something more. I actually wouldn't have minded if they would have replaced him before Deathly Hallows. But you know what? Those were still good movies. But you know what? Our 2 gentlemen here actually get to think of something along those realms. So question number 1, if they could replace the director of any Wizarding World film with a new director, which film would they choose? And who is that new director? So with that, coming up first, we are going to have Joe. You're going to start off this one with your 60-second opening. I will try to bring the clock back up with about 15 seconds left. So I will jump in the back, and whenever you are ready.
Thank you. So when it comes to the Wizarding world and its directors, I think we have to take a look at the movies as a whole. And I think for the majority of it, especially the Harry Potter movies, I think Harry Potter movies are very, very successful in their sort of development, in the way they sort of change as the characters change. But I think where the issue hits, especially with David Yates, is with the Fantastic Beasts movies. I think the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them got a bit of a pass. But I think it's quite well agreed that The Crimes of Grindelwald was a monumental failure across the board. Not enjoyed, always put at the bottom of the list. And I think you need someone to maybe recapture that wonder. And I don't think, and you have parts of the story that work with sort of family ties and all that. So I don't think there could be anyone better to take over the helm of this movie than one of the greatest directors of all time, Steven Spielberg.
All right, Steven Spielberg with Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald. So we're going to move it on to Chad with your 1-minute opening. Time to start when you begin speaking.
Only one film in the original Harry Potter saga failed to reach its full potential, and it could have been so much better given a simple change in direction. I chose Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and I want to replace Mike Newell with Alfonso Cuarón. Mike Newell's approach to directing was abrasive. He did not seem to like the book he was adapting. He thought it was too long. He wanted to make a huge mark on the franchise, but wasn't really interested in working off of the previous director to make the films flow. He removed a lot of the mystery from the book. He got Dumbledore all wrong, and he spent so much time trying to adapt anything he saw as the core plot. He left out some of the magic and purpose from the book. After Chris Columbus gave us our childhood, Alfonso Cuarón ushered us into adolescence with his take on the world while giving us a masterpiece in Prisoner of Azkaban. If he could have stayed on, he would have given us the mystery of Goblet we got in the book like he did in Azkaban. He would have done justice to the characters and the things we love, like the Quidditch World Cup. And Alfonso Cuarón would have given us another masterpiece before the age of David Yates.
Time. All right. So we have Steven Spielberg directing Fantastic Beasts and Crimes of Grindelwald versus Alfonso Cuarón directing Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. So, Joe, back to you for your 2-minute expansion. When you are ready, the time will stop.
if you look at Steven Spielberg throughout the years, you'll see, and you'll hear in sort of documentaries and things about him, about how a lot of his movies are very focused on sort of family, and the overriding part for, especially for Credence in Crimes of Grindelwald, is about his family, about him trying to find his family, and then obviously he has that thing revealed to him at the end, which is developed on later in Secrets of Dumbledore. But I actually think Spielberg is the perfect person to recapture that. He talks about, with Close Encounters, maybe going back and changing the idea of Roy, leaving his family behind, and that's something obviously he's rediscovered about maybe having some recapturing the love of family. And I think that's something that would be really interesting for Credence. But also you look at Steven Spielberg's work, look at the BFG, E.T., Close Encounters, even Jaws. He has this mastery of capturing the wonder of the new when it comes to creatures. And I think that's, if you're going to title your movies Fantastic Beasts, I think there should be a little bit more focused on the beasts. You know, Newt is your lead. It's your lead character. That's what he is, his wonder around these creatures. And I think Spielberg is the perfect director to capture that. Mike Newell, when it came to Goblet of Fire, I think there's a wonderful behind-the-scenes story about him sort of encouraging Oliver and James Phelps to really go for it when fighting each other, like they would in real life, because they are obviously real-life brothers. And that's just one of the many things I think he does. And there's some issues, of course, around, I know, the delivery of that one line from Dumbledore, but that's really the biggest criticism that's ever come out of Goblet of Fire. And I think one thing that goes really well in this movie is the big moments. You know, the resurrection of Voldemort is a wonderfully directed moment. He gets his direction for Ralph Fiennes and everyone around him very well. And also the death of Cedric Diggory, that moment, even now, is still heartbreaking. The direction he gives to Amos Diggory for that scream, he talks about how he told him to really vocalize that. And I think Mike Newell really succeeded in the big moments of Goblet of Fire.
Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire? I actually really liked that line delivery. I didn't mind it at all, but that's neither here nor there. Chad, your 2 minutes starts for your expansion when you start talking.
The Harry Potter saga feels like a nice flowing river with the torch passed on from Columbus to Quran to Newell to Yates, but the Newell entry feels like a stone you trip over on the way. Except for the Crimes of Grindelwald, Goblet of Fire is the lowest rated Wizarding World film when you ask the audience. It is a serviceable film, but it could have been great. Newell took what he thought to be the main plot and left everything else on the cutting room floor, removing a lot of what we love from the book. There's no real sense of mystery and wonder in the film. In the book, you have so much mystery about who put Harry's name in the goblet, who cast the dark mark, was Barty Crouch Jr. guilty, what happened to him, etc. You get more from Hermione with her concern about house elves and trying to solve the mystery. It feels like Ron and Hermione are sidelined a lot. I'm not saying you have to do the whole spew storyline, but keep Dobby and Hermione's concern about him in there, because it adds a lot to Hermione's character and creates a through line with Dobby too, instead of him just being in the beginning and in the end of the franchise. Dumbledore was completely different in Goblet than any other film in a bad way. You know the meme. He says, "Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?" And then he runs up and pushes Harry into some clutter like a madman. He's like this in the entire movie. Aggressive with Harry, hostile, self-centered, and he looks like a lunatic. In the book and every other movie, Dumbledore is as he should be, calm and with a twinkle in his eye. Newell took Dumbledore's twinkle. Newell also made Barty Crouch and Barty Crouch Jr. weaker characters. David Tennant appears like a crazy person the whole time with no depth, but in the book, you can see how the overbearing Barty Crouch would lead his son to plead for his life and go to the dark side. Given better direction, we could have gotten more from the movie's villain. Basically, I had to choose the film that could be most improved with a simple change in director. The director should have been Alfonso Cuarón. He would have given us the perfect Goblet of Fire, a Dumbledore with a twinkle in his eye, the mystery we know from the book, just like he did in Azkaban with Sirius Black. Instead of including David Tennant in scenes early on, he would have saved it so that when he showed up like Gary Oldman does, that moment would have been so much stronger, since we would have believed him dead. He would have made some of the tasks that make more sense to and align more with the book. He would have.
That is time. That is time. That is time. That's what happens when you mute your mic and you don't need to. Give me like 2 seconds, because we are changing the time from 5 to 4. But gentlemen, as I do that, you will have your 4-minute freeform debate. Try to give each other time. Try not to talk over each other, or do that if you like. It's really up to you. 4 minutes will start when one of you starts talking.
So I think the main thing you've got to consider is that it's actually Steve Kloves' sort of job to adapt the book. It's Mike Newell's job to make the movie. So The Goblet of Fire is the second longest book behind Order of Phoenix. There's a lot of stuff that's going to have to get cut. And I think Newell's job is to adapt, is to make this movie. He has to make choices. He has to change things. If he just wanted to make a copy of the book, that the book's already written for him, he has to do it as a director. And I think he still hits those big moments: Voldemort's resurrection, Harry facing the dragons. These sort of the idea of the tasks as well. But also Cedric Diggory's death is such a huge moment. It's the real growing up for a lot of these characters, and I think it still hits. Yes, some of that is down to Patrick Doyle's score, but don't forget, he's the one that's directing these actors in this moment. You said talk about bringing back Quaron. I think Quaron created a world. He really created a world, because the world in Prison of Azkaban is very, very different from the world in Chamber of Secrets. All the stuff he did with the wands and Hogsmeade and all this sort of stuff. But we've seen from people like J.J. Abrams, it's very easy to set up, not necessarily a follow-up. That's harder to do.
But we've never actually seen Alfonso Cuarón miss. So Alfonso Cuarón coming in and bringing his own voice to Goblet of Fire would have been brilliant. The whole thing about Newell, but listen, Newell would have been. The thing about Newell is that he basically was too ambitious with this. When he had the whole first task thing, he wanted to do so much they actually had to rein him in. They wanted him to, or he wanted to actually, because you know how like the dragon goes out of the arena, starts to tear down Hogwarts. He wanted him to go burn down the Forbidden Forest, and a 7-year-old could have told you that's a bad idea. Mike Newell just did not understand the book. He didn't understand how to bring these characters, to full realization. Like I said with Hermione, she really just gets sidelined, and all she is just a person yearning over boys the whole movie. And it's like she actually had something in the book that could have been adapted, and Newell could have said, I'm going to go ahead and change this. And it's also just not just adapting specific things from the book, but also just changing around certain like people who are in certain scenes. Like if you just extract David Tennant from earlier in the movie and just have him at the end, that would have kept so much of the mystery. And then the biggest thing that I do
but who is he then? You don't know who he is. You have to establish who he is at some point in the book.
Yeah,
and that's
like in the book, he talks about who he is.
He's adapting the second biggest book. He has to make the decision of what to cut and where. And when you're making a movie like Goblet of Fire, you have to choose where the focus is going to be. And in a movie called Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, you have to focus more on Harry. But I think the problem is David Yates, after 5 movies, he started to get it did start to feel stale. The Fire started to feel a bit stale around. I think the movies are great, but it started to feel stale around those later movies in Deathly Hallows. But Spielberg, I think, could recapture that magic, focus a bit more on the creature, focus more on Credence's journey with rediscovering his family. That's what Spielberg has always been good at. And also seeing that wonder again. That's what we want.
I understand what you're trying to say, but bringing in the wonder, I feel like would have been more better if he would have been in the beginning of the Wizarding World, not coming into the middle of a Fantastic Beast franchise that he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. This is you talk about Steve Kloves being like, writing the screenplay and being the enemy of Goblet of Fire, but that's what J.K. Rowling is to Crimes of Grindelwald. The first movie is decent because she had help, but when they gave her her own screenplay, she's the one that drove that into the ground. We've seen David Yates be brilliant, and David Yates directed that movie really well. I don't think Spielberg comes in and does really anything to that movie. We've seen it when there's production issues with King of the Crystal Skull. He did not know how to make a good movie there either.
That is time. That is time for the free-form debate. So we're going to go into this last round for each of you gentlemen. You have 1 more minute to set up any closing arguments that you want for this exhibition. Joe, as you started at the beginning, you will start again for this final section. Your 1 minute starts when you begin talking, sir.
By the time you hit Crimes of Grindelwald, David Yates' direction in this franchise was starting to feel stale. Spielberg always brings a wonder to it. He can do the recapture the stuff with family, which is very important to Credence's story. He's also, even recently with West Side Story, been able to capture this sort of star-crossed lovers thing, which would have, I think, developed Dumbledore and Grindelwald's story more as well. Mike Newell had a very tough job of adapting the second longest book in the franchise. It's not his job to necessarily adapt it. It's more Steve Kloves. And so as the director, Mike Newell decided to focus on what was important to fit into a 2-hour 20 movie, which was Harry Potter and his journey. I still think he hits with the big moments, as I said before, like the resurrection of Dumbledore, like the death of Cedric Diggory. I think these are all very important moments in the film, and I think he recaptures them fantastically. And I don't think bringing David Tennant in later works, because you have to introduce who this character is. It doesn't work on a visual scale or anything like that. I think Spielberg is the perfect person to recapture the wonder. And Alfonso Cuarón, we've never seen him miss, but we've also seen him. We've never seen him do a sequel. And I think setting up a world is a lot easier than following it.
That is time. That is time. All right, so we're gonna move on to our final minute. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Thank you. Final minute of this first round of the exhibition. Chris, your closing argument starts when you start talking.
We actually have seen Alfonso Cuarón do a sequel. It was Prisoner of Azkaban, but yeah, he would go on to actually bring a lot of the magic back from the book to screen. And you've seen with like Lord of the Rings, how those things are long, but they spent the time to actually capture a lot of the things. Like there's so much buildup in the movie of Goblet of Fire for the Quidditch World Cup, and we see not 1 second of it. These are things that Newell could have actually brought to us to give us, we hear so much about Victor Crumb being so great at Quidditch, and yet we don't get to ever see him play. It just kind of talked about. And that's kind of the magic of the direction that could have been brought back to the movie. With Spielberg coming over to direct Crimes of Grindelwald, that is such a mess of a script. He's not going to be able to make sense of it. He's not going to be able to bring any family or whatever you're talking about in there, because the acting is not bad in there. But Dumbledore was a big problem. The acting was terrible with Dumbledore, Barty Crouch Jr., and Amos Diggory.
And that is your time. That is your time. That was a very good round, gentlemen. I was slightly worried that Hedwig there was going to get attacked by a cat, but you know what? It's all good. So we're going to bring these gentlemen to the back. I have no facts. I am not checking any facts. So we will not get any facts. We're just going to bring the judges in. Juan Andrea, Alejandro, and Chris. So with that, we'll start off with you, Andrea, as concisely as you can. Who did you give your point to and why?
This came down to the closing arguments for me, but at the end of the day, I'd have to go with Joe. I just think he made a lot more points and was able to put more holes in Chad's arguments.
All right, so that is 1 point for Joe. We're going to move down to Alejandro. Alejandro with the luscious hair. Where are you going, sir, and why?
First of all, thank you for pronouncing my name correctly. And this is a great question. I loved everything about this question. The debate was actually early on for me. Chad really hung his hat on that meme thing for Dumbledore's one line, but Joe was really able to combat that with the big moments that are in the movie and the way the movie is structured. And Chad's whole argument about removing Barty Crouch Jr. is not necessarily something that changing a director would fix. And I think Joe pointed that out perfectly. So I'm going with Joe. I don't have a whiteboard. Sorry.
All right. With that, thank you, Chris. We will get you on in the next one. With that, we have the first point going to one Mr. Joe Farrelly. If you could edit this, please, that would be great. Yay. So we have 1-0 going to Joe Farrelly. We're going to move into our round two question.
No lie, though. A 3-hour Alfonso Cuarón Goblet of Fire
would be beautiful. Would be absolutely beautiful. Though I am one who actually really loves Goblet of Fire.
Oh, so do I.
It's my second favorite of the entire franchise.
And it's my favorite book. So.
I love the book. It's my favorite too.
Yeah. But going into question number 2, and this one is going to be a speed round question. So I have the great pleasure of my birthday being around Christmas and New Year's. It's dead in the middle. So I am kind of always just partying back to back to back. I go to Albuquerque, New Mexico. My abuela used to make me barbecue ribs and maduros after having a whole bunch of great food in Christmas. And then later, my pops, his tradition, gets some collard greens, some black-eyed peas, and some ham hocks, which is green for the money, Black Eyed Peas for the fortune, and Ham Hocks for great health. So parties are great. I love them, especially around my birthday, because it's just one big celebration from front to back. So what we did here for this second question, we asked who would throw the best birthday party? Which Wizarding World character would throw the best birthday party? So as Joe went first on the first question, we're going to go over to one Mr. Chadwick Webb for this second question. So you still get your 1 minute opening. So Chad, when you are ready, your 1 minute opening starts when you start.
All right. Who would throw the best birthday party? What a fun question. I had to go with somebody who knows food, who knows humor, who knows fantastic creatures. I went with Jacob Kowalski. Throughout the Fantastic Beasts series, we've had different qualities of film, but the best part of each one is Jacob Kowalski. He is the heart because he's funny, lovable, responsible, a team player, and he is the best friend you could ever have. These qualities are important in someone you want to throw you a banger of a birthday party, somebody you can count on to always be there for you and give it their all. Not to mention, if you don't have the tastiest, fun food creations at your birthday party, man, you are missing out. Jacob is basically one of the most charming and loved characters, always complimenting people and making them feel good. He's always down to adjust to have some sort of challenge that comes at him, going on all of his adventures with Newt. Jacob is like the best baker of all time. He's going to give you like the best cake, which is the centerpiece of any great birthday party. Jacob will give it his all and give you the best birthday party you can have. Happy birthday.
And that is time. I keep forgetting I need to stop my camera and not remove myself from screen, but it is all good. So we're going to go with Jacob Kowalski, probably one of the best characters in this new franchise. Him and Lolly in Secrets of Dumbledore.
Oh,
yes. Just yes. But Joe, we're going to head on to you. Who you believe is going to throw the best birthday party in the Wizarding World. Your 1 minute starts when you start talking.
Look, it's my birthday in 3 weeks' time. Okay, 33 in 3 weeks' time. But let me tell you, if I'm going to have a party, in the Wizarding World, I want it to be magical. I want it to be filled with great sweets and fireworks, and maybe a couple of good pranks as well. And you know what's best? You organize a party. You're not just going to have one person throwing your party. You could have two people throwing your party. You could have Fred and George Weasley throwing your birthday party. Because the thing about Fred and George Weasley is, yes, they pick on Ron a lot. They do pick on their siblings a lot. But you notice throughout the rest of the movie how caring they are, like giving Harry the Marauder's map, and how kind they are to people like Luna and everything, and Hermione, and the boy, I think his name was Michael, when he was being tortured by Umbridge. You know, you see how caring they really are. So, you know, if it's not their family, they do kind of put a lot of care into looking after people, and I think they would be the perfect perfect characters in this franchise to throw your birthday party. It would be full of fun. They clearly know how to make some food. I think they'd throw a great party.
And that is time. I just realized I did not put up the banners for either one, so we have one Jacob Kowalski. Weasley twins, which you may be asking, it says character. And when I came in, I said that is acceptable because they are one and the same. You don't have one without the other. When we do, it is the saddest thing to ever be put on written page. So with that, we're going to go over to our minute and a half response, expansion, rebuttal. We will not have a free form open debate. It's just one after the other, back and forth. So Chad, when you are ready, your expansion and rebuttal for 90 seconds. We'll start when you start.
Here's what Jacob would do for you if chosen to throw you a baller birthday bash. He would show up with a single briefcase he borrowed from his boy Newt. In this briefcase, he would usher all of you and your guests into a world of the most fantastic creatures you've never seen before. He'd have tables set up with the most delicious baked goods you will ever taste, all shaped like fun creatures or really whatever you want, since Jacob is an artist. He could then teach you about some of the creatures for entertainment and even have you play with them and pet them. You know he's going to crack some dad jokes, maybe even do a stand-up set, and he's just a really fun presence at your party, making you and your guests feel really good about about yourselves. In these movies, he's always complimenting people. He's always trying to get on people's good sides and just, not for his sake, but just to make them feel good. This is what he does with Nicholas Flamel, with a house elf that's at the bar. He's always just making people feel good. But the Weasley twins seem like they'd be fun at first, and then you remember just how averse they are to playing by the rules. Who knows if they would even show up on time or have anything prepared for you. The Weasley twins think things like insulting people, making people sick with their joke treats like puking pasties are funny. I wouldn't put it past the twins to end up making your entire birthday party sick if they even do show up. Playing practical jokes is fun for them, but not fun for their victims, and the victims will most likely be you and your party guests. I don't want to take that chance to wonder if they are going to show up, do their job, and actually give you a good time.
That is time. There's some heat thrown the Weasley twins' way. But hey, that's what happens. So, Joe, we're going to go over you for your 90-second rebuttal expansion, whatever you want to call it, when you start talking.
So the Weasley twins have really only ever been shown to use the majority of their pranks, especially their puking pastels and stuff like that, on people like Filch. People who are working against their goals. The fact of the matter is their goal here is to throw you a truly great party. And you know what? If Jacob can borrow a couple of creatures from his friend Newt, I'm fairly sure the Weasley twins can borrow a couple of things from their brother Charlie, who works in Romania with dragons. The fact of the matter is, even when they were 16, 17 years old, they threw one of the most amazing fireworks displays Hogwarts had ever seen. It had a dragon, it had a giant W in the sky. It's now going to be your initial in the sky. It's going to be fantastic. The fact of the matter is, apart from showing the creatures, you're choosing a character to throw your party in the Wizarding World who can't use magic, and I think that's a big detriment. If you're in the Wizarding World, you're going to be having this party. I think you need to have magic there. I think it's everything the Weasley twins have shown to do when they're not pranking their people who are their enemies or their own siblings. I think everything they've shown, all the characteristics they've shown, is that they do truly care. They are fantastic characters. They look after Michael after Umbridge has made him use the quill. I think all that sort of stuff just shows how much they care and how much effort they would actually put into it, because when they put their mind to it, like when they are leaving Hogwarts in Order of the Phoenix, they have shown that they can put on a true spectacle.
With 3 seconds to spare. All right, getting to this last part of the speed round, we have 45-second closings from each of you gentlemen. Chad, wrap up whatever you want to say, and take us out when you are ready to go.
Yeah, they can do spectacle, but that's usually at somebody's expense. I don't care if it's enemy or what. If you get on their bad side, they might decide to slip something into your food. And I just don't think you want to take that chance for your birthday party. With Jacob, you don't need to worry about him pranking your party, putting anybody in danger, making them feel uncomfortable. In fact, he's the opposite. He's going to make everyone feel welcome, feel good, give them the best cake and pastries they've ever tasted. He's going to make sure you get everything you want so you feel good about being 1 year older. He's got not just the amazing food, but the entertainment with his humor and fantastic creatures. He's going to have that party tricked out like his bakery, looking and smelling so good. He'll make you feel so warm inside, as all great characters should. Jacob is the man for the job.
Sorry, but you ended anyway, right on time. So going into Joe's final 45 seconds, sir, when you are ready, start talking.
The Weasley twins have shown that they really do care about people they consider their friends. They only really use their pranks on their siblings, which all siblings do, or against their enemies. I think Jacob, he can't use magic, and I think that's really going to be a detriment to a party within the Wizarding World. I think the fantastic thing about the Weasley twins is that even in the harsh times, losing an ear, they're still able to make jokes. And I still think they were able to start up their own business when everything else was failing. It shows that they are committed, and when they set their mind to something, they can put on a spectacle. And I think that's the fantastic thing about the Weasley twins. They are able to create a spectacle. They are able to show they care about the people they want. Jacob is a very caring person, but I think he's going to get lost in the myriad of that. He's very much a people pleaser, and if there's too many people at that party, he's going to be too worried about people pleasing. He can't use magic, and I think that's going to be the biggest failure of the whole party.
And that's time. I thought it only fair that if I gave Chad a 6-second warning, I gave you a 6-second warning. Both of those parties sound fairly amazing, but let's see what the judges think as I put you gentlemen into the back. Will we have a 2-0 KO and possibly a third question based on how they feel, or will we have a 1-1 tie? And we definitely will have a third question. Either way, great debates. Judges, it is on you, Alejandro. We're going to go with you first as you're posing like a model on a wall now. I get the whole losing light thing. It's not very fun. Where you going?
I apologize for the echo, but let me step over here. Beats the highway noise. Okay, so check it out. Chad almost had me with Jacob. Like, he was so close. He said the obvious thing about the Weasley twins, that they're pranksters. Like, you never can trust what they're going to do. But Joe said it perfectly. Like, it's always in good fun. They care about the people that they're close to, and they would never hurt anybody unless you piss them off. So I got to go with Joe on that one.
All right. First vote goes to Joe. We are going to go over Chris. Chris, where are you going to mine?
I kind of the opposite. I might be the only one here. Maybe Chad. I thought he brought up the example to me, and he pointed out, that they could have people pleaser, that he trying to make the best of it. That he did the game. He cared about everybody. I think it be out. Even that the trend does kill all people, even people they like. That point kind of enemy there. Good Chad.
All right. So we have a 1 vote for Joe, 1 vote for Chad. So Andrea, it is up to you now, miss. Where are you going? And what?
Like with Alejandro, Chad almost got me also, but I have to go with Joe with the same reason as him, but also it's a Wizarding World party and I want to see some magic. So
All right. So the second point goes to Joe, Alejandro, Chris, and Andrea. I appreciate you. Gonna cut for a second. We going to the third question? Yes, no, maybe so. Joe, how you feeling?
Doesn't matter. I'll leave it up to Joe.
Because we can go extra. And you're good?
I'm happy to do it. This is my favorite question in the thing. Okay. Also, Chad,
right, cool.
You didn't mention giggle water. You would have won.
Oh.
All right, Joe. I'll bring it back. And with that, they want to do another question. So even though we have a 2-0, you're getting an extra question anyway. So Joe is up 2-1. Let's see if Chad can make it not a clean sweep. Or maybe it will be, but whatever. We love talking about this stuff. We love Wizarding World. So we are going to go into the third and final question here of this exhibition. And with this, there are plenty of franchises who have gotten I'm going to cut. There was a cut somewhere, but I'm going to go back to what I was saying. And I was saying there were a lot of franchises that had some pretty decent spinoffs. It's late, and I don't want to actually list any because I can't think off the top of my head. But with Wizarding World, there's so many. Where are we going?
Better Call Saul.
That is very true. I wasn't thinking about television. I need to watch that show, but it's so slow sometimes. But anyway, Wizarding World has a whole lot of great characters that Warner Brothers, whatever they're doing over there, they need to figure something out. They got plenty of people to choose from to figure out what they want to do. So the question here is, what Harry Potter character deserves their own spinoff? So we're going to head back for this final one. Joe, you are going to have the opening. This is a regular round with our regular time. So you are going to have your 1 minute opening whenever you start speaking, sir.
So as this is Movie Battleground, I have decided to base my choices on what is presented to us in the movies. And I agree, the Wizarding World has a myriad of characters that would be just fantastic to spin off. But I think we all agree that the Wizarding World probably worked best when it was sort of at its mid-darkest. those Prisoner of Azkaban's, your Half-Blood Prince's, Order of the Phoenix. I think all this sort of stuff focusing around dark wizards and stuff like that was fantastic. And maybe it's a bit of bias in me, but cop shows are very popular, and I think you can blend those two. And I really think the perfect candidate for a Wizarding World spin-off is the Aura Alistair Moody. I think he's shown throughout the series that he is a very likable character. Brendan Gleeson's always been a very great at creating these characters, and I think blending all of that together into a spin-off, whether it be a movie, a series of movies, or a TV series, I think any of those would work if it's Mad-Eye Moody.
And that is time. Goblin Piss. Will we figure out how he knows the taste of that? That's my question. All right, Chad, going into your 1 minute opener, sir, when you start talking.
Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of agree with Joe here a little bit, like mid-dark, something like that, but not all the way dark like we've been getting. But yeah, post-Harry Potter, we've mostly been given a lot of darkness with the Fantastic Beasts series. The sweet fantastic creature part started to take a backseat for more dark wizard stuff and politics. That's what we've been getting. I think it's about time we take the franchise in a different direction and go back to Hogwarts. Go back to a time after Grindelwald, but before Voldemort would fully rise to power, and call it peacetime, I guess, but let's get lighter Wizarding World back in the mix with just a few touches of darkness. I want to see James Potter and the Marauders film. We got a good amount of information about Harry's dad in the books, but not in the movies. It mostly took a back seat. We can use this as an opportunity to expand on what we know in the films, using what we know from the books to tell a fantastic story of friendship, love, and foreshadowing betrayal. It would be a deep character study of the complex character that is James Potter, an introduction to who the Marauders were.
That is your time. That is your time. James Potter, the Marauders. I have the Marauders map on my shoes, and I love it. It's absolutely amazing. So let's see if we can figure out whether or not that's going to be as great as a show as my shoe. With that, Joe, 2 minutes, sir. Don't mind my corniness when they start talking.
We've seen the person Mad-Eye Moody came to be a slightly bitter, worn down by sort of the darkness he's witnessed. But at some point, Mad-Eye Moody was a young man out there to catch dark wizards. When he first appears, even though it is Barty Crouch Jr. in disguise, Ron Weasley says, that's Mad-Eye Moody. The Aura, the wizard, the dark wizard catcher, half the cells in Azkaban are filled because of him. Now that is a story I want to see. I think you could introduce all these sort of different kind of these villain characters. You can show how this person went from someone who was probably quite young and hopeful, even in that very brief flashback scene in Goblet of Fire. You see he's quite cheery, even though he's just lost an eye. We could see how Evan Rozier took that eye from Moody. This is all stuff that sort of fits in, and it probably wouldn't just be a cat scratching it out, even though I do kind of like that moment. But I still think all of these moments sort of tell a really fantastic story about how someone can go from being sort of young and hopeful and sort of be changed by that, but still have that sense of goodness inside them, and how witnessing all that darkness, he still manages to keep that. I think it's a fantastic story. From what we've seen of James Potter as a young man, obviously we see the photos of him and Lily dancing by the fountain, which is a nice moment. But from what we've seen of him as a younger man, James Potter was a bully. All we see is the only part we see in him is him bullying Severus Snape. Who wants to see me take off Snively's trousers? That's what we see of him. I agree. There's a complexity there, but I think the difficulty is it's set in peacetime. There's not really much hardship for them to endure, and I think with Alistair Moody, you get a real sense of where this character started. You know where they end up, and it's a journey of how they got there with some fantastic dueling and dark spells and dark wizards all thrown into the mix. More Dementors, more of Azkaban. That's what I think we want to see.
And that is your time. All right, Chad, up to you, sir, with your 2 minutes expansion. When you start talking.
I believe the story of James Potter deserves to be told because it's such an interesting concept that didn't really get covered a ton in the original Harry Potter film saga. James Potter goes to school with his friends Sirius, Remus, and Peter. They are jokesters together, kind of like Fred and George would be later, with nicknames Moony, Wormtail, Padfoot, and Prongs, creating funny things like the Marauders map that Harry uses a lot during his time at Hogwarts. They spent time mapping out the castle and finding secrets. You'd have a great story of friendship that chose Lupin as a werewolf, and you could see James, Sirius, and Peter turn into animagi so they could all be animals to keep Lupin from getting super dangerous and still allowing him to go to school and be a kid. Not just the story of the Marauders, but with focusing on James, you can see his arc from being kind of a bully to being somebody Lily could love and who could father a kid like Harry Potter. You can see him being stellar on the Quidditch pitch, rivaling Snape, and really getting to this character that would go on to father the boy who would defeat the greatest wizard the world has ever seen. What kind of traits do James and Harry share? How are they different? I want to see James save Snape's life and see how the whole thing played out. The tone of this would be very light with some dark tones to it, like foreshadowing Peter's eventual betrayal. If you want to throw in a director who is known for working with kids and making magic, you could go with Spielberg for this. I actually think that would work very well. Or you could get a director of Paddington, Paul King, who does very sweet movies with slight darkness to them. I don't find Mad Eye prequel really that entertaining. I think he's interesting as an older, gruff, crazy man later in life. Also, a Mad Eye movie sounds like what we already have with the Fantastic Beasts series, a bunch of men in suits fighting dark wizards. We are kind of tired of everything being about dark wizards. There are more interesting things we can do in the wizarding world. Look at Prisoner of Azkaban. It has some darkness, but no dark wizard stuff, and it's fantastic. There's no way you can make a lighter Mad Eye movie either, and so it just doesn't work for what we need right now to bring people back to the franchise of Harry Potter.
All right. That is the end of the 2 minutes. We're going to go into this 4-minute open debate when one of you gentlemen begin speaking.
I do see where you're coming from with the Fantastic Beasts argument, but I think the issue with that is that they are poorly executed. I think when you focus on a character like Dumbledore, who is not that dissimilar from where he is in the Harry Potter movies, I think that's where you have your issue. I think the difference with the Mad Eye movie or series, whatever you want to call it, I think you have a character you can show as sort of young and hopeful and sort of still full of this sort of good heart, and how he goes through these dark times, meeting these dark wizards, battling these dark wizards, losing an eye in the process, and still maintaining that goodness, coming in to a story about the Order of the Phoenix themselves, about how they came together to battle Voldemort the first time around. I think with your Marauders movie, especially with focusing on James Potter, I think the issue with that, I think it's from what we've seen of him in the flashbacks, he's a very difficult character to like based on what we've seen so far. And
exactly,
I'm not going to get much out of it. He dies at 21.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying that it would be great to actually recontextualize what we know about James, because we've only in the movies, we've only seen James in flashbacks and memories. Even in the books, we've really only seen him in flashbacks and memories. To actually see him as a real character in front of us, we can actually fall in love with this character, see, how Lily could actually fall in love with them, because we know Lily's not going to fall in love with a piece of shit. So to see James have an arc of being the bully, maybe he got misguided somewhere, and then a lot of what we know is actually from Snape's memories too. So it's like, how did Snape's vision of him affect what we know about James? We can actually recontextualize this and see, because James is a guy that Sirius loves, and Sirius is a really good-hearted character. So is Lupin. They're not going to be friends with the guy who's a complete piece of trash. And to go to, and it would just be great to see a return, like a full return to Hogwarts, not just this little bits here and there, but just a full return where we get to see them, finding the Shrieking Shack, how to, more magic we've never seen before, like how to turn into an animagi, problems with that. You get to see a lot of character dynamics between a lot of these characters. With Mad Eye, it just seems like him catching dark wizards, like we've seen it before. And I know, like, Mad Eye
we've seen kids growing up at Hogwarts before, but what we're doing here, we're removing the real hardship that really forces these characters to grow up, because we're setting it in the peace times. With Moody, we're showing a character, because we don't know much about him as youth, we can make him this sort of young, hopeful, but determined person who's out to catch dark wizards. And it doesn't have to be on the scale of Voldemort and Grindelwald. It can be these sort of smaller but still very vicious dark wizards who are doing, whether it's things in the wizarding world or things to the Muggle world, and him sort of, it's going out and catching these wizards and having these epic battles, because if it's just the one-on-one, they become these epic battles. And I think you can show how witnessing these dark things can really embitter this person but still keep their good heart. But I think the difference with the wizarding, with the Marauders movie, is that you're showing them growing up, which we've already seen, but you're removing the real hardships that force them to grow up.
I mean, like, it just doesn't, it sounds like we've seen like a lot of those different, like you said, the cop show stuff are really like popular, cop movies or whatever. We've just seen it so much. It's like actually kind of like on a downturn of things that we really care about now. And Mad Eye's just not a character I don't think really many people are clamoring to see again, or like a younger version of him. It just sounds like a lot of the same that we're getting now. And I think right now, especially, this is why we deserve a story like this, because the hardships would be just their time at Hogwarts and trying to face, the fear of like Lupin being excommunicated from the school and being forced out, and the rivalry between Snape and James. It's just a lot of different
dynamics. Is time. That is time. All right, we are going to go into our final sections of this exhibition, which are our closing arguments for question number 3. It's been a great battle so far. So, Joe, as you started earlier for this round, you will start off again. Your 1-minute closing starts when you begin speaking.
I think there's no denying that the Fantastic Beasts movies have been a slight failure, and I think they've chosen the wrong things to focus on. So if you are going to focus on Newt, you should make it more about the Beast. If you're going to focus on Dumbledore, you should actually show some character growth there. But he's pretty much the same person he is then. With Moody, you can actually show that character development, him out catching dark wizards, being on different adventures, filling half the cells in Azkaban, losing his eye in the process, but still maintaining that good heart. I think with the Marauders, especially focusing on James Potter, you have an unlikable character going through a situation that doesn't force the growth because there are no hardships. You may say we've seen stuff like this with Crimes of Grindelwald, with the Fantastic Beasts movies, but the fact of the matter is, the reason we do things that we've seen before is that for somebody out there, this is going to be the first time they are entering this world. And I think Moody is the perfect character to do it with, because it is someone that links back, someone that we know, someone that people have liked and connected with. And I think you can cast the right person. You can still bring Brendan Gleeson for flash forwards, whatever. And I think that's why it's the perfect character to spin off, because he can grow, he can change, and it's exciting.
That is Joe's time on this exhibition. Great job, sir. We're going to go into Chad's final minute here. Chad, give it what you got for this last 60 seconds, sir.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're both like pitching like character growth and all the stuff that you want to see. That's exactly what I'm saying is, you don't know the real James Potter. And I think that, that could maybe even be a freaking tagline for the movie. It's like, who is the real James Potter? Like, who was he? I want to know the guy who actually fathered, the character that we all know and love. I just feel like the Mad Eye stuff is just so, back in the day, maybe that could have been cool, but I think like a lot of that cop stuff is just kind of overplayed now in cinema and shows and whatever. I just don't really find it that interesting. It's just so dark. We don't even know what Mad Eye Moody was like, when he was younger, and he could have been an asshole too. I don't know. But with the friendship in the Marauder story, I think everybody would lose their goddamn minds if you said, hey, we're making a movie about James, Lily, all of his friends, and all of the dynamics. People would love that and eat it up.
And that is time. That is time on this exhibition. A great, great final debate here, gentlemen. To end this off, we're going to send you back one more time and bring the judges in, Andrea, Chris, and me. Alejandro had to leave a little early, so I'm going to end up possibly being the judge. If I do, that means I have to settle it. Whatever. It's all good. Andrea, give us your thoughts on this one and what who you went with. And why.
This is actually very close for me because it's between an epic and something that's introverted and character driven. But at the end of the day, I'd have to go with Chad. I just think that he was able to give more specific points on how his spin-off is gonna go, like specific details, like who was James, that sort of thing. So, I'd have to go with Chad on this one.
All right, that is one vote for Chad. We're gonna go over to Chris. Chris, who are you going for and why?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Chad too. He spoke to me on a level. He just gave me detail. He gave me directive. He just gave examples where I felt like Joe didn't give enough depth of where Matt and Rudy to go, and Chad did point out we already got enough of that and fantastic beat. Trying to go back to the top of that blood, awkward. He did everything that gave me great examples. Unfortunate in a way.
All right, so that's the second vote for Chad, and I know that usually we don't get the third judge's opinion, but I'm hosting today and I'm giving my opinion anyway because even though it doesn't matter, this was a really close one. I think both of them pitched movies that sounded very interesting and great, but I ended up going with the person who I think rebutted the other's arguments a little bit better, but overall just gave me a lot of things to grab onto, and I was really interested. Even though I was interested in both, it gave me more reasons to why I would be so much more interested in that. And for me, I also would have went with Chad. It felt more. It felt like more of something new, something different, and the reasons behind why it would be different. While Joe sounded great, I think Chad kind of hammered down why his different one with the lighter tone would be more welcome than something new with, while still great, a darker tone. But with that, judges, Andrea, Chris, thank you so much. We appreciate your help on this very, very fun exhibition match. But for real this time, and your winner. This is really the third time I've tried to do this. And your winner, one, Mr. Joe Farrelly. Joe, congratulations, sir. Got this exhibition match. You lost the last round, but you won the first two. Really, really great matches. Really great debate. How you feeling about this quick little romp back into the Wizarding world?
It was good fun. It was good fun. Actually, a little bit disappointed. That was the Mad Eye Moody choice was the one I was like most happy about when it came. When I saw this question, I was like, oh, I know what I'm doing for this. But that's the way it goes sometimes. So no prep. So yeah, it was good. Chad put up a hell of a fight. You can see his skills really come into play, especially in that last round. Actually, interesting looking at it. Out of the 9 votes that were cast in this, he actually won 5 out of the 9, and I won 4. So, but.
Popular votes in the Electoral College. I don't know how that works. Actually, I do. I was here. It happened. So you still won, though.
I got no idea. But it was a really fun, some really good questions in there, some really fun stuff to sort of think about. And who knows, maybe we'll get Marauders and Moody in, and they'll join together in the Order of the Phoenix movie.
Hey, that would be lovely. Any other exhibitions you feel like you'd have a good run at? I've joined you, or I've been doing what you're doing. The no prep debates have been really fun. So any other exhibitions you feel like you might have some interest in?
I'm not bad at some of the other geek stuff, and Bond. That's
Bond. That's all you have to say.
Yeah.
Well, with that, Joe, congratulations, sir, on this exhibition win. I couldn't get that exhibition win, so I'm a little upset. But it's okay. It's okay. It's not about me. It's about you. But congratulations again. Going to send you on to the back. Bring on one Mr. Chadwick Webb. I don't know if he was angry because he didn't win the first 2. I don't know, but he kind of murdered that last one. Had to come out swinging and make sure he got that final win. You wanted to make sure you didn't disappoint Hedwig too bad. How you feeling, sir? Especially about that last round.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm feeling okay. It always sucks, like when you have something like, this that you love so much and you really want to have a really good showing and win, and you don't, it sucks. But the thing about it is I got a point on Joe. And the last time I faced Joe, that did not happen. So I feel pretty good about that last one. I think I did really show up there and felt really good while I was debating that one, whereas the first 2, maybe not as well. And it sucks that I didn't get the second one because, most of like what I heard was, he's not Magic. So sorry, that sucks. He's not Magic though. I want Magic. And I'm like, damn it. Maybe that was just a bad choice in general, I guess. I don't know. But sometimes it's just how you argue it. Like, I didn't counter the he's not magic, and I meant to, but I just, time runs out on you in these damn things so fast, and you're like, wait, I didn't get to the oh well. But
yeah, and that was a speed round question as well, so you had a lot less time in general too. So
exactly, and and I prepped for a 3-person match. I didn't do the baller no prep thing that Joe did, but he's very good. And might have to get a rematch with him at some point, but I got to earn that. But yeah, anyways, it was great. Thank you for hosting. This was very fun, and Harry Potter, y'all.
Okay, yeah. Shout out to one Kevin Poss. He's going through some stuff. So thoughts out to you, sir. Couldn't make it at the last minute, so we just went to the 2 here. I don't know. Maybe we could have asked Carrie there in the back if she wanted to join in. But
no prep, Carrie.
But really, really good job on this debate, front and center. No. But anyway, with that, gonna send Chad in the back. And just thank y'all. Aaron, thank you for letting me host this. Had a wonderful time. I don't think I screwed up too much. Just a couple of cuts here and there. And with that, thank you again to the judges, Andrea, Alejandro, and Chris. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Look for what upcoming matches are coming your way. One might have this face in it. You never know what you do, because anyway, for one Joe Farrelly, the winner today, for Chad Webb, the follow-up winner today, Aaron, Kevin, we're thinking of you, sir. Y'all have a good one. Peace.